The Authorization for Use of Military Force Against Iraq Resolution of 2002, informally known as the Iraq Resolution, is a joint resolution passed by the United States Congress in October 2002 as Public Law No. 107-243, authorizing the use of the United States Armed Forces against Saddam Hussein's Iraq government in what would be known as Operation Iraqi Freedom. The resolution cited many factors as justifying the use of military force against Iraq. The resolution supported and encouraged diplomatic efforts by President George W. Bush to strictly enforce through the UN Security Council all relevant Security Council resolutions regarding Iraq, and obtain prompt and decisive action by the Security Council to ensure that Iraq abandons its strategy of delay, evasion, and non-compliance and promptly and strictly complies with all relevant Security Council resolutions regarding Iraq. The resolution authorized President Bush to use the armed forces of the United States, as he determines to be necessary and appropriate, in order to defend the national security of the United States against the continuing threat posed by Iraq, and enforce all relevant United Nations Security Council resolutions regarding Iraq. An authorization by Congress was sought by President George W. Bush soon after his September 12, 2002 statement before the UN General Assembly asking for quick action by the Security Council in enforcing the resolutions against Iraq. Of the legislation introduced by Congress in response to President Bush's requests, S.J. Res. 45 sponsored by Sane, Daschle and Sane, Lot was based on the original White House proposal authorizing the use of force in Iraq. H.J. Res. 114 sponsored by Rep. Hastert and Rep. Jeffart and the substantially similar S.J. Res. 46 sponsored by Sane, Lieberman were modified proposals. H.J. Res. 110 sponsored by Rep. Hastings was a separate proposal never considered on the floor. Eventually, the Hastert-Jeffart proposal became the legislation Congress focused on. Introduced in Congress on October 2, 2002, in conjunction with the administration's proposals, H.J. Res. 114 passed the House of Representatives on Thursday afternoon at 3:05 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time on October 10, 2002, by a vote of 296 to 133, and passed the Senate after midnight early Friday morning, at 12:50 a.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time on October 11, 2002, by a vote of 77 to 23. It was signed into law as Pub. L. 107-243 by President Bush on October 16, 2002. Sens. Baucus, Bay, Biden, Brewer, Cantwell, Carnahan, Carper, Cleland, Clinton, Daschle, Dodd, Doggin, Edwards, Feinstein, Harkin, Hollings, Johnson, Kerry, Cole, Landrieu, Lieberman, Lincoln, Miller, Nelson, Reid, Rockefeller, Schumer, and Torricelli. Sens. Akaka, Bingaman, Boxer, Byrd, Conrad, Corzine, Dayton, Durbin, Feingold, Graham, Inouye, Kennedy, Leahy, Levin, Mikulski, Murray, Reid, Sarbanes, Stabenow, Wellstone, and Wyden. The United States Court of Appeals for the First Circuit refused to review the legality of the invasion in 2003, citing a lack of ripeness. In early 2003, the Iraq resolution was challenged in court to stop the invasion from happening. The plaintiffs argued that the president does not have the authority to declare war. The final decision came from a 3-judge panel from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the First Circuit, which dismissed the case. Judge Lynch wrote in the opinion that the judiciary cannot intervene unless there is a fully developed conflict between the president and Congress, or if Congress gave the president absolute discretion to declare war. Similar efforts to secure judicial review of the invasion's legality have been dismissed on a variety of justiciability grounds. There have been no findings by any legal tribunal with both legal authority and legal jurisdiction that any laws were violated. There are only two legal tribunals with both authority and jurisdiction to make such a finding: the U.S. federal courts and the United Nations. Advisory opinions are prohibited in U.S. courts and are also prohibited by the UN Charter unless the Security Council authorizes them. There are no relevant advisory opinions or legal finding regarding the legality. The United Nations Security Council has made no findings on the issues. Importantly, the UK and the United States, the two aggressor nations, are permanent members of the UN Security Council with veto powers. Thus, it's unlikely any legal determination can ever be made while the UK and the US are in the Council, as they would veto such a vote. The United Nations Secretary-General, Kofi Annan, has clearly stated that according to the UN Charter the invasion was a war crime. There is no requirement in international law that the United States seek permission to initiate any war of self-defense. The United States government has argued, wholly apart from Resolution 1441, that it has a right of preemptive self-defense to protect itself from terrorism fomented by Iraq. Although